Shalom everyone, and thank you for joining me in studying Parashat Teitzei. Today's issue that we will be able to address is divine expectations during wartime. The Torah states something which is very delicate regarding how the Jewish army should approach, or what will be the attitude towards women that they find in the nation that they fought against, which means Am Israel has a war against the Amorites, another nation, and basically they find people there, children, women. What should we do with them? So just in terms of general culture, especially at that time, basically they were the spoil of the war, and the winners, they really took it all. Their approach towards the other people and their property was something that it belongs to them. That's the spoil of the war, and they can do whatever they want with that. However, the Torah has very different perspective, and the Torah says the following: if you go and wage a war against your enemies, Hashem will deliver those enemies into your hands, and then you will capture their people. And then you will see a beautiful woman among the people that you just conquered right now. And you would like to have her, and you should take her for a wife for you. You will bring her to your home. She should shave her hair, and she should let her nails grow. Back then the fashion was that growing nails was not a fashionable thing. She should remove the dress that you found her in, and she should sit in your house with a different dress. She should mourn for her parents that probably were killed in the war for a month. And after that you can marry her, and she can become your wife. And if you, let's say, you woke up in the morning and say, you know what, I don't like her, you should send her free. You cannot sell her. She is not your slave. She is not your property. She just was your wife a second ago. Do not afflict her. Do not abuse her. Do not take advantage of her, over her. Because in a way you afflicted her. Let's take a look at what's going on here. You have a soldier who won a war. Especially ancient times, you can read in the history of other nations. He was not at home for so long. Then he wins the war. Hashem delivered those people into his hands. He is kol yachol. He is all powerful. And he see a woman, and obviously in a war, you can do whatever you want. Says the Torah, no, you cannot do whatever you want. Not at all. If you want her, you need to take her as your wife. You need to bring her home. You need to let her and give her space for 30 days. You can't touch her. Let her weep and mourn for her parents. And then you can marry her. And then if you are not interested in the marriage anymore, don't think that she is like a maidservant to you or just a piece of property. She's a person. And what do you do with that person? You send her free. You can't sell her. If you look at Roman law, and if you look at the history of ancient culture, let's take just one example that we know for sure. After the revolt, Bar Kokhba's revolt that ended at 135, and the Romans basically stormed the land of Israel and murdered so many Jews and sold so many Jews. They sold them like slaves. Some of the testimonies in the history of Rome that there were so many Jewish prisoners that were sold that basically the cost was so cheap that it was more expensive to buy food for a horse. Which means the way that the winner treated its spoil was terrible. Disaster. Disgusting. But the Torah demands of us, you cannot do that. I know they are your enemies, but after the war is over, the spoil, the people are still people. Says Rashi, ולקחת לך לאישה, and you can take her as your wife, לא דיברה תורה אלא כנגד יצר הרע. The Torah really addresses just your evil inclination. שאם אין הקדוש ברוך הוא מתירה, יישאנה באיסור. Because if Hashem will not tell you that you are allowed to be with this lady and marry her, you will do it because you want. And therefore, God says to you, you're okay. If you want to marry her, you can marry her. There are conditions. You need to wait 30 days. She needs to weep and mourn for her parents, and then you can marry her. But אם נשאה, סופו להיות שונאה. If you marry her, at the end you will hate her. How do I know, says Rashi? Because it says immediately after this commandment of אשת יפת תואר, it says כי תהיינה לאיש שתי נשים. If a man has two women, two wives, and then he will dislike the children from his first wife, and that first wife, our sages says, this is this woman that he took from the war. וסופו להוליד ממנה בן סורר ומורה, לכך נסמכו פרשיות אלו. Meaning, nothing good will result from taking this woman for your wife. It's better for you just leave her there, let her build her own life. She also went through a trauma. Obviously, her people were destroyed, her country was conquered, her parents was probably killed. Let her be, leave her alone. I'm not encouraging that marriage. Let her be free. And if you will take her as your wife, there's going to be only tzuras, there's going to be only troubles and problems in your family. Leave it alone. This is very interesting. Because Rashi basically says what? God has expectations from us. God does not want that soldier to marry this woman. However, He understands our weakness and our evil inclination, that you go on a wall and you look at this woman and she's pretty and you want her to be your wife. So God says, you know what, if I will tell you you can't, what would you do? You will marry her. So, or you will, God forbid, do other things to her. So therefore, says God, if you want to be with her, take her as your wife. But I'm just telling you, it's a bad idea. Don't marry just because of beauty or desire. If you have nothing to do with her, you have no common base, no common language, no common culture, no common aspirations and future, that's not a good marriage. Leave her alone. Try to overcome your evil inclination. Take a look at the divine expectation in the middle of a war. Again, this soldier didn't see a woman, didn't see his wife, maybe he's not married. After 6, 8 months, a year, 2 years, he's trying to conquer this nation. At the end, they conquer this nation. It's a very difficult battlefield. It's a very difficult war. People are killed. People are being injured. At the end, they win, and God says to him, wonderful. Now, don't forget, you were created in the image of God, and the people around you are created in the image of God. And therefore, let them be free. Those who were not involved, they are the spoil, you can take them, but I'm not encouraging it. The Netziv, in Amek Davar, in this commentary, he says the following, ולקחת לך לאישה, and you can take her as your wife, אין הפירוש שיקחנה אתה לאישה. He says, does not mean that you take her now. שהרי עדיין היא עובדת כוכבים ואין קידושים תופסים בה, because don't forget, she's not Jewish yet. She didn't go through a quick conversion at the time of the war, so she is not Jewish, and therefore the marriage is not valid. אלא הזהיר הכתוב שלא ייקחנה מתחילה לבעילה בעלמא ולשלחה. But rather, according to the Netziv, he says, you can't marry her. So maybe I just can be with her. Says the Netziv, the Torah says no. You can't be with her with the idea that I'm not going to marry her. If you want to be with her, you need to know that you're going to marry her. אלא מתחילה ייקחנה שתהיה בסוף לא לאישה. ולא נתבאר אם מכל מקום רשאי לבעלה גם אתה, טרם שראויה לאישה. הוא כבר פליגי בבבלי ובירושלמי. This is a very interesting sugya, a very interesting issue that we can elaborate on it a lot, but I will just try to give some kind of a review. The first time that this soldier sees this beautiful woman, the question is, can he be with her at that time and then take her home and marry her? Or he can just put her on his horse, ride back home, let her be for a month and then marry her, which means, according to Jewish law, can he be with her that first time at the battlefield? And this is a dispute between the Babylonian Talmud and the Jerusalem Talmud. The Jerusalem Talmud says, no, he cannot. He cannot touch her. He needs to bring her home. And according to the Babylonian Talmud, he can. However, so let's make it clear. The common denominator between the Jerusalem Talmud and the Babylonian Talmud is, you must marry her. If you take her, you must marry her. She is not just a woman that you can, be with her and then send her free. That's not going to work for us. This is not moral, this is not ethical, this is not nice. It's not appropriate. God says no to that. However, on that path of marrying her, can this soldier be with that lady after he wins the war? That's a dispute. According to the Jerusalem Talmud, you can't. According to the Babylonian Talmud, you can. It might be that the dispute between the Talmudim, between the Jerusalem and the Babylonian Talmud, is basically regarding a very human nature question, which means when this soldier sees this lady, and if you tell him you cannot touch her, you need to bring her home, wait for a month, and then marry her, is this soldier able to really overcome this evil inclination or desire? The Jerusalem Talmud says, God expects you to have this ability to overcome the desire, and if you really love her, and just also like a side note says the Jerusalem Talmud, I promise you, marriage is just based on looks and desire, not going to last, so wait, bring her home, let her be for 30 days, and also, in these 30 days, it's also a good time for you to think, is that the woman that I would like to marry? Is that the love of first sight, that this is the woman that I would like to build my future with? A woman that I was captured, that basically I would never meet her if there was no war? Is that the woman that I would like to be the mother of my children? Think. If you get to the conclusion that the answer is yes, go ahead. But you know what? Take some time. And the Babylonian Talmud says, look, he can't. He probably cannot overcome that inclination, or maybe he can, but just to give him the permission will ease it and make it easier for him. And therefore, he can be with her, but with the intent to marry her, and he needs to bring her home. Even though it's a difficult topic, especially for Western people, you see how the Torah, even back then, already emphasized the idea of a divine expectation from the Jewish army. If you win a war, you need to understand that God helped you, and God still has expectation from each soldier. The spoil, you can't view people as just spoil of the war. There are people. And yes, it's true. Other nation treats them awfully, even less than property. The Jews will suffer from it for ages. But you, I have expectations from you. And why? Why God has such expectations from us? So the Torah states, Ki Hashem Elokecha, because Hashem your God, mithalech בקרב מחניך. God in a way walks with us in our Jewish camp, in our Jewish army. להצילך, to save you, ולתת אויביך לפניך, and to deliver your enemies in front of you. והיה מחניך קדוש. And your camp, your army camp, should be holy. לא יראה בך ערוות דבר ושב מאחריך. Do not do anything inappropriate because God will just basically depart from your army. Depart from your army camp because he can't stand unholiness. This, by the way, is the source for what? For all the laws that we have regarding not only hygiene, but purity and impurity in an army camp. For example, the Sforno, 16th century in Italy, says the following, Vaya machanecha kadosh, and your camp, your army camp should be holy. What does that mean? Min atuma'a umin amius, from impurity and from disgusting things. Army environment, army atmosphere is tough, it's rough, it's, we don't exactly pay attention to everything that should be clean or pure. And God says to us, I'm with you. Don't forget, even when you put these uniforms, they should not hide your identity. You know who you are, and with all the difficulty of war, do not lose sight of who you are, truly, inside. It's hard. It's very difficult. War, the pictures that you see in a war, the realities that you see, the way that your enemies are treating you are very difficult. And it's very easy to lose sight of who we are. The Torah demands, requests, expects us not to forget. The Bechor Shor, a French commentator from the 13th century, says the following, Rabbi Yosef Bechor Shor, כי השם אלוקיך מתהלך בקרב מחניך, השם your God walks with you, שהיו מוליכים עמהם כלי הקודש וחצוצרות התרועה, כי תכתיב במדיין, כשהלך פנחס להכותם. Says, what does it mean that Hashem walks with you? Take a look. You take the trumpets, the holy trumpets, and you take the holy vessels with you. ופעמים עמהם הארון, כמו שהיה בימי עלי, על פלישתים. And sometimes they will take the ark with the 10 commandments and the Torah with them. This is the holiest vessel in the tabernacle or in the temple. And they take it to war. ואפילו אם אין שם אלא ישראל, הקדוש ברוך הוא משרה שכינתו במחנה ישראל. This is an incredible thing. You go to war and you take the ark from the holy of the holiest, you take it outside to the war. So obviously God can expect you to do what? To be pure, to be holy, to be conscious of God's expectations of you. That's what makes the Jewish army so unique, so ethical, so moral. Our sages, in this Midrash in Shir HaShirim Rabbah, says the following. But before we will read it, let's try to sum up what we did. The Torah describes a very delicate issue. A soldier wins a war, he's all-powerful, he just won this mighty enemy. After a few months of fighting and putting a siege and everything, the doors are open, he storms into the city, they kill the enemy, and in front of him there is a beautiful woman. Any other soldier will not even think twice. A Jewish soldier? You like her? You need to marry her. Yes, there is a discussion. Can he be with her the first time he sees her or not? But even if he does, he needs to marry her. You give her 30 days for her own, for her own time to mourn, to go through the trauma. And only after that you can marry her. You also, when she shaves her hair, for example, it's to really look at her and say, is she still beautiful for me? Do I really want to marry her? Or maybe not. Or maybe I don't want to see the beauty anymore, but I really want to see if there is any common denominator, any common basis for marriage here. God expects us to be holy, to be ethical, to be moral, because He goes with us. He walks with us. He dwells in His divine presence with our army. And therefore, there are expectations that you will be able to overcome your desire even in an atmosphere and an environment which is very difficult to do and sometimes even is being excused not to do because it's so tough. God says, even if it's tough, I still have expectations of you. Why? Because I know who you are. You are my children. You are able to overcome your desires, even in a very difficult time. This midrash illustrates exactly this point. אמר רבי לוי, Rabbi Levi says, בנוהג שבעולם אדם נושא אישה בין 30 ובין 40 שנה. So the custom, I guess, it's Rabbi Levi, who was, he lived around the 3rd century. בנוהג שבעולם אדם נושא אישה בין 30 בין 40, a guy gets married when he's 30 or 40. מי שמוציא יציאותיו הוא בא להיזקק לה. So he goes to work, and he does his business, and then he comes home, and he comes at night, and he says to her, my dear wife, maybe we can be together. והיא אומרת לו כשושנה אדומה ראיתי. And she says to him, my dear husband, I would love to be with you, but I can't. I'm a nida. I saw blood, and I cannot be with you. הוא פורש ממנה מיד. So he says, if that's true, I'm not touching you. מי גרם לו שלא יקרב לה? איזה כותל ברזל יש ביניהם? ואיזה עמוד ברזל ביניהם? איזה נחש נשכו? איזה עקרב הקצו שלא יקרב לה? So the Midrash is asking a beautiful question. Why would that husband will basically let go of the opportunity to be with his wife just because she said she saw blood and she's nida? What, is someone going to watch them? There is going to be a snake that will come and bite him if he will be with her? Says the Torah, דברי תורה שרקים כשושנה, שנאמר בה ואלישע בנידת תשומתה לא תקרב. It says no. No one is going to see them if they will be together. There is not going to be a snake that will come and bite him. A thunder from the heaven will not come and strike him. You know why this person will be able to overcome his want to be with his wife, and how come that the wife will overcome her want to be with her husband? Because the Torah states that when a woman is nida, when a woman sees her period and she cannot be with her husband, so they will not be together. The Torah states, and we accepted it. And that will help us to overcome our inclination and to do the right thing. וכן מי שהביאו לו תמחוי של חתיכות. Another example, someone is being brought a beautiful plate of different types of meat. אמרו לו חלב נפל שם. However, there is a שומן, a fat, that we are not allowed to eat, and it's there, it's on your plate. I look at the plate, and I say to myself, okay, I'm not eating it. Again, the Midrash asks the question, מי גרם לו שלא לטעום? איזה נחש נשכו שלא יטעום? איזה עקרב הקצו שלא יקרא ויטעם אותו? Who stops him? Who is the one to stop this person from eating it? What, there is a snake that's going to jump and bite him if he's going to eat it? There's going to be a scorpion who is going to bite him if he will do that? No. So the Midrash says, דברי תורה שרקים כשושנה שכתוב בה, כל חלב וכל דם לא תאכלו. No. Just because the Torah says that you can't eat that specific fat and you can't eat blood, and therefore, if the Torah said so, I'm putting the plate outside and I'm not touching it. This Midrash is fascinating. I think it talks so much about something that I think sometimes we don't believe, which is our abilities. We sometimes think that, we are afar va'efer, we came from the earth, we are very earthly people, very physical people, very materialistic people, and you let go and you submit yourself to it, and I can't change it, and I can't overcome it, and I have inclinations, and I'm just going to follow them because, it's too hard to overcome them. Says the Midrash, no. You can do it. And not because there is a watching camera over you. It's not because sometimes someone is taking your attendance or is trying to record your behavior. Just because if you fully believe in the Torah and you fully believe in God's involvement in your life, if it says no, you will find the power within you to be able to follow it. Rav Soloveitchik said something beautiful. He says the following. In his book, Shiurei Abba Mari, he says, HaTorah metaheret umekadeshet. Learning Torah purifies you and sanctifies you. The purification process is obviously from impurities. And lekadesh, it's to elevate you, to separate you from others. על ידי לימוד התורה, אדם זוכה לא רק לחוכמה וידיעתה. By learning Torah, by studying Torah, it's not only that you accumulate the wisdom, the understanding, the knowledge, כי אם גם לקדושה וטהרה אישית, but also for holiness and personal purity. גסות רוח נעלמת. The roughness, the aggressiveness will disappear. ועדינות יורשת את מקומה. And gentleness basically inherit this roughness. שטחיות חולפת ועמקות המחשבה מחליפתה. Superficiality will just disappear, and instead of being superficial, you become deep. You become a person who can think deeply. בעקבות הלימוד, אנו נתקלים בשינוי גברה. When someone studies Torah as he should, or she or he should, it becomes a changed person. It's not the same person. It does not affect only your cognitive abilities, it behaves your everyday's behavior, your attributes, your thoughts, your feelings. ובהתחדשות האישיות, it's renewal of your personality. הכוח הרוחני באדם מתרחב, your moral and spiritual power expands, ועוצמתו המוסרית מתבלטת. And its moral character is being emphasized. This is beautiful statement by Rav Soloveitchik. Sometimes we think that learning Torah makes you smarter, makes you someone sophisticated. So it's all about the cognitive. Rav Soloveitchik says cognitive is very important, but it also affects who you are, and if not, you are probably not studying well. Learning Torah gives you morality, gives you ethics, teaches you that true Torah learning make you gentle, make us unique, make us holy, make us understand what people need, what our nation needs. And if not, there might be something problematic with your Torah studies. Rav Soloveitchik, who was known for his cognitive abilities, who comes from Brisk, that their emphasis is on your cognitive abilities, basically says the Torah has a dual mission: to shape your mind, to replace superficiality with depth, but also to make you gentle, to make you moral, to make you ethical, to make you sensitive. And that's why, even when you go to the army, you keep that in mind. And you can, because the Torah definitely gives you the abilities, the tools, the instruments to be able to overcome all those challenges. Rav Soloveitchik continues on and says, ההלכה, Jewish law, מצווה לאדם להתענג על הדר הבריאה וזיווה במידה לא פחותה מאיש התענוג. In the Torah, when you look at the Torah does not restrict you too much from having fun and pleasures and enjoy the world and everything that the world has to offer you. However, הנעת איש ההלכה היא מתוקנת ומוקצעת ומצורפת. But if you follow Jewish law and you follow the Torah, your engagement and immersion in pleasures and fun is defined, is limited. מעולם לא אסרה תורה את הנאות העולם הזה על האדם, ולא תבעה ממנו סיגופים ועינויים. The Torah never really requires us to afflict ourselves. There's only one day a year, Yom Kippur, that it says, ועיניתם את נפשותיכם, that you need to afflict yourself. But all the other 364 days, exactly the opposite. All of our holidays is what? Is to eat. There is definitely food. And also the rabbinical holidays like Hanukkah and Purim, also we eat. That's why we have the joke, yes, they tried to kill us, we won, let's eat. The Torah does not restrict us from all those things. עם זאת, ההלכה שונאת את התוהו שבתענוג. What the halacha, the Jewish law and the Torah does not like is the emptiness in desire. Meaning just to have a desire for the sake of desire. Just to have this piece of meat just because it's a piece of meat. Tohu, meaning nothingness in the desire. ההלכה מדירה את האדם מהיסטריה של תאווה ושיגעון. The Jewish law guides us to deviate from this obsession with desire. ההנאה שעליה ממליצה ההלכה, the pleasures that the הלכה recommends is what? נטולה היא את האינטנסיביות היתרה וגירוי העצבים ושכרון החושים. What the halacha tried to suggest to us is you can have pleasures, you can enjoy the world. You know what? You should enjoy the world. There is an opinion in the Talmud that says that if someone becomes a Nazir, a Nazirite, he's a sinner because he deprives himself from good wine, grapes. No one expects you to do it. However, sometimes when the desire becomes the main thing in your life and causes you to what? To basically to be intoxicated with this desire and to do everything to accomplish it, that's a problem. Then you become enslaved to your desires. You don't enjoy them. There is no enjoyment in being enslaved to a desire. It's beautiful to enjoy something, to enjoy aesthetics, to enjoy good food, good wine, a wonderful trip, going to a museum and to be impressed by art. It's all good. But to be obsessed with it, and my entire life mission is to fulfill yet another desire, that's not life. כשאדם נהנה מן העולם בהתאם להשקפת ההלכה, when a person enjoys life based on הלכה, הנאתו היא צנועה וענוגה. There is a modest enjoyment, but it's also delicate, and you have pleasure. הנאה שאין בה לא מבולמוס של עריות, ולא מקדחת של גורגרנות. This is beautiful. It says this is a pleasure that is not tainted by obsession to lofty desires, and not from sickness of trying to immerse yourself and indulge yourself in meat and wine and other addicted things. אמנם כן, ההלכה היא תורת הגוף. It's true. The halacha is not only about abstract things, sublime things, spiritual things, things that has nothing to do with this real world, exactly the opposite. The halacha, most of the halachot are about us in this world, in this reality, day to day, going to work, going to the bathroom, going to meet friends, building a family, treating your children, treating your employees, going to war, trying to build a state. The halacha is all about this physical world. אולם כאן אתה מוצא את גדולתה. This is the greatness of halacha. על ידי קידוש הגבייה, by sanctifying, by defining our pleasures and desires and wants and inclinations, היא יוצרת חטיבה אחת של אדם. היא יוצרת חטיבה אחת שלמה של אדם פסיכוסומטי, העובד את יוצרו ברוחו וגופו, ומעלה את החיה שבו למרומי הנצח. The halacha helps us to elevate our animalistic being to become human. To become humane and to become human. This is the beauty of Torah. This is the beauty of Jewish law. Yes, sometimes you can look at these laws and say, oh, it's so restrictive. It always tries to narrow my path. It's always trying to tell me what to do and how to do. This is true. Because the halakha tries to help us not to be animals. In every situation we'll find ourselves, in any circumstances, in any environment, in any atmosphere, you will know that you are a ben Adam, that you are a human, that you are a human being and not an animal. Yes, the halakha tells us how to tie our shoes, how to put our shoes on, how to get dressed, how to take a shower, how to say hello, how to engage with other people, how to help people in need, what to do with your money, how you to make money. The Torah is not against any of the pleasures, but it defines them. It gives them some kind of limitations. Yes, you can drink wine. Not only that you can drink wine, you make a kiddush over a cup of wine. You make marriages over a cup of wine. Brit Milah, you have a cup of wine. Yes, but don't drink wine all day long. Don't eat meat all day long. There is always some kind of an association between eating meat and a korban, a sacrifice. When you eat as a family, you take care of the needy, you invite the people who don't have. Meaning every physical thing that we do is connected to its spiritual being. ההלכה היא תורת הגוף. Jewish law is the law of the physical being, not lofty things, spiritual things, abstract things, sublime things that you have no idea what's going on up there. No. It's very real. The halakha is very real. And if we go back to the beginning of our class, this is why God can expect every soldier on a battlefield, after months of war, you are still a ben Adam. Don't ever lose sight of the image of God in you. I, says Hashem, I will walk with you at time of war, in an atmosphere, in an environment that is obviously not that holy. But I'm with you because I know that you will keep the image of God in you, your morals and ethics. You can enjoy life, but enjoy life in a way that you can control it, that you lead those enjoyments and you are not led by them. Because the minute that we are led by our desires and wants and dreams and fantasies, we become slaves to those desires. So let's be free people. Let's really enforce this idea that we have the capabilities, the power, this tremendous power to be able to overcome desires even in the most difficult and challenging circumstances. There is no snake that is going to come and bite us. There is no Scorpio is going to bite us either. It's just because the Torah said so. And we believe that it's for our benefit. Thank you.